SpongeBob SquarePants might just look like a silly cartoon about a talking sponge and his friends, but some fans think the characters of Bikini Bottom secretly represent the 7 deadly sins. SpongeBob has ran for 16 seasons since July 17, 1999, has become one of the most popular cartoons there is, with a very popular theme song, I'm aware it's just popped into your head, and one of the most memeable TV shows of all time. As is the case for shows that have run for as long as SpongeBob has run for, then it stands to reason that several fan theories have spawned about this absorbent yellow and porous sponge named Bob who has square trousers. Welcome to Popcorn Programming, and today we are diving into a bizarre theory to see which character represents each of the deadly sins and whether or not they actually make a bit of sense. Pop pop! For a refresher on these 7 deadly sins for you, these 7 deadly sins, also called the capital vices or the cardinal sins, are a classification of the most seriously moral vices in Christian theology, though they are never explicitly listed in the Bible. These 7 sins though are pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath and sloth, and they are considered the most severe vices in Christian tradition that can lead to spiritual death if unrepented. The most famous use of these in media is the 1995 Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman movie Seven, which is an excellent movie to be fair. However, is it possible that these 7 sins represent a character in SpongeBob SquarePants? Let's take a look, shall we? We'll start out with pride, who this theory would suggest is represented by Sandy Cheeks. Sandy is often represented by pride, but why? Well, she constantly boasts about being smarter and stronger than other people. She frequently talks about how great Texas is. She sees herself as the most capable character in Bikini Bottom. Some examples of this include when SpongeBob questions Texas, Sandy immediately challenges him to a fight. Her pride usually comes from confidence in her abilities, which makes her a natural fit for pride. Next up we have greed, who is represented by Mr. Krabs. This is the most obvious one. Mr. Krabs is practically the embodiment of greed. The evidence for this is essentially just watch the show and watch what Mr. Krabs does. But for this video, the evidence is shown in that Mr. Krabs values money more than almost anything else. He charges customers for absolutely ridiculous things. He once even sold poor SpongeBob's soul for 62 cents, when he is literally his entire motivation. Next up we have sloth for Patrick Star. Patrick actually fits sloth quite perfectly. Why? Well, you see, he spends most of his time just lying under a rock. He avoids responsibility whenever possible, and he's often too lazy to even think properly. Patrick's laziness is played for comedy, but perfectly matches the sin of sloth. Next we have gluttony, and that is represented by Gary the Snail. Gary surprisingly represents gluttony. Why? Well, Gary is constantly hungry, and his food obsession appears during many episodes of the show. Simple as that. SpongeBob often struggles to keep up with Gary's appetite optionally. This one is a little less obvious, but it does fit the idea of endless appetite, represented by gluttony in the capital vices. Next up we have wrath, represented by Squidward tentacles. Now, why does Squidward represent wrath, I hear you asking? The reasons as to why Squidward represents wrath is because he is constantly angry and bitter. He explodes at SpongeBob and Patrick regularly, granted for fairly understandable reasons. His frustration though defines his entire personality. I mean, literally, his entire character is essentially perpetual irritation. Next up we have envy, and that is represented by Plankton. And again, this is another perfect representation of the deadly sin, Plankton for envy. Why? His entire motivation is built around jealousy of Mr. Krabs. He desperately wants the Krabby Patty formula, and his envy drives every single evil plan that he concocts. Without envy, Plankton pretty much has no reason to exist. That leaves us with just one of our deadly sins left, and that is lust, and this theory would suggest that lust equals SpongeBob. This one is perhaps the weirdest interpretation. This theory would suggest that SpongeBob represents lust, but not in a sexual way. Instead, it is interpreted as obsessive passion, and for some examples of this are his obsession with the Krusty Krab, his constant need for attention and approval, and his overwhelming enthusiasm for everything. His character is basically pure, uncontrollable desire for life and validation, which could be argued to fit the billing for lust. So that does bring me to my question for today, which is, does the theory actually work? Some of them are matches and they actually do fit quite perfectly, such as Mr. Krabs being greed, Patrick representing sloth, or Plankton as envy. Others are a bit more of a stretch that you need to have some look into whether or not it's a representation of the deadly sins, especially SpongeBob and Gary. But that's what makes the theory quite interesting, is that it does make you look at the characters differently and may change how you view the whole show overall. Whether you think this theory was intentional or just a weird coincidence though, one thing is clear: Bikini Bottom might be a lot more sinful than we first thought. But that brings me to my big question for the day, which is, what do you think? Does this theory hold any weight? Let us know in the comment section down below. If you've enjoyed this video, then be sure to give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button if you are new around here. That's all for now, so I'd like to thank you for watching and we'll see you later. Pop pop!